the news from yesterday, to no one's surprise, really. Tua Tagovailoa being placed on injured reserve by the Dolphins. He'll miss at least 4 games. They're giving him the full and complete chance, and that's the vibe we've gotten from the get-go, Michael, that they're going to give him a full and fair opportunity to see where things are. Let the doctors make good decisions. Let him make good decisions. Let's not rush this. Let's let him take his time. Mike McDaniel, like I said, he had made that clear when he had addressed it after the game on Thursday night, when he addressed the media on Friday. We all kind of knew it was heading this way, and they made it official on Tuesday.
Yeah, and Mike McDaniel has had the perspective the entire time, Mike, that we shouldn't be talking about Tua's future. It's all on the player. They seem to be, unless he's doing a very good acting job, which I don't think he is, there seems to be genuine affection by Mike McDaniel toward Tua and vice versa. They really seem to click and get along and understand the other one. Football aside, just personality-wise, they seem to be a good match. But that being said, of course, you have to, that's what a good employer, and let's call Mike McDaniel the middle manager, that's what a good middle manager does. Hey, we're not going to focus on the job right now. You're going through something that is life-altering. You have a brain injury. I'm going to focus on the injury before I start talking about the job. But it does make you wonder, what do the Dolphins want? This is time for Tua to think, but it's also time for the Dolphins to think of what they want. They'll never share that publicly. That would be too crass. That wouldn't be empathic if they just, kind of go to an insider, one of these NFL insiders, and say, hey, this between us, we're hoping he retires or we're hoping he does this. But don't you wonder, what do the Dolphins want to happen? We focus on Tua. What is the Dolphins' perspective the next 4 weeks?
That's an excellent point, because one of the things I'll say here from time to time, every NFL franchise is a giant football machine with parts that will be changed out. It's just a question of when and how. When does this part get removed and replaced with something younger and cheaper? Or just we aren't expecting this to happen and we have to do an emergency repair on the engine. New parts got to go in. It always happens. The teams are always going to be here as long as the NFL's around, and the players are always going to cycle out. And sometimes the player chooses, but usually it's the team that chooses. And at some level, the Dolphins want something out of this. Because here's the fundamental problem. We don't typically see guys who have concussions land on injured reserve. When guys who have concussions, as we said on Friday, Michael, a risk that is at the center of the radar screen of the things that can happen to you while playing football. When it happens, it's all about the player wanting to be cleared, the team wanting him to be cleared, the process playing out so he can be cleared. Sometimes a player, like last year, Brock Purdy got concussed on a Monday night and was cleared to play the following Sunday. It used to be the default was you'd miss a game. Then it became, hey, guys are getting cleared to come back right away. It's rare that a guy goes on injured reserve. I tried to do the research earlier. I can't think of many, actually any, players who have gone on injured reserve with a concussion other than Tua Tagovailoa. I'm sure there have been some, but it's not the case. This isn't usually
I think you're right. I can't think of any either.
It's let's sit back and wait until he's cleared. And the question is, will he be back this week or will he be back next week? And for a guy to miss 2 games with a concussion, that doesn't happen all that often. But for a guy to be put on IR with a concussion, now these rules that don't shut a guy down for the whole season, they're a product of the COVID experience, and there'd been a move that way anyway to let guys come back from IR. Once upon a time, not that long ago, if you were put on IR, you were done. So that would explain why it didn't happen 10 years ago. But this is a guy who's been on IR twice now with concussions. 2022, season ender, Christmas Day, the one that no one knew happened until the next day when he came in and they said something's wrong with Tua. And now this one. So that's what I'm struggling with, Michael. He's cleared to come back. Okay, it's not like the risk of another concussion is going to be magically gone. He's walking right back into the very thing that gave him the brain injury that now has him on injured reserve. And that cycle doesn't end until he's either not cleared to play or he chooses to not continue.
Mike, you're so right. This is a new world for the NFL. Like, I was thinking as you were talking about players being on injured reserve with concussions. I can't think of any. Not for 4 games. As you said, you miss a game, you miss a couple of games. And 2 games might be a lot for concussions. I don't think there are many guys, and that's a short list too, missing 2 games because of a concussion. It's happened, but it's not like 30 guys have done it. But Tua he's the example of, he's really precedent setting right here. The Dolphins and Tua, what do you do in this situation when you've got a guy who has multiple incidents and everybody knows his history because he's a high-profile player. He went to Alabama, so what happened in Alabama, we all watched Tua kind of grow up as a football player, watched him in the championship game, and we've seen these incidents that happen to happen in high-profile games. Think about all of Tua's incidents. They haven't been Sunday at 1 and to 15% of the country. Most of the incidents have happened for all of us because we've been focused on that one thing. I can think, Mike, in hockey, I know there are a couple of players who have had their careers changed by concussions, either changed and ended, or they missed 30 games because they were having, post-concussion syndrome, all these issues. I really can't think of anybody in football. So what happens with Tua sets the precedent going forward for a player who's really struggling with brain injuries.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.